Okay, so we are skipping graphing for now and we're jumping to page 13. We're gonna probably just do this side of the notes. This page, 13 and 14, are the same lesson, but we'll probably only get to 13 today. We're gonna talk about the range of functions, and it's gonna sound very familiar because the range of functions is the set of all possible y values. The range of a function is the set of all y values. That should sound very familiar because we have done a lesson recently where it was the domain and it was the set of all x values. So if I hop back to that page, and you guys can stay where you're at if you want, we are looking at what's happening on the x. So as you move left to right. Now we're going to complicate that a little bit by looking at what happens when you go up to down. So this is looking at your graph from bottom to top. So maybe I'll write a little note for myself. Say, look on graph from bottom to top, which seems weird because I think in general we normally go the other way. We go top down. But we want to start with our negative values and move toward our positive values. Okay, just like on our first set of domain functions, or finding the domain of a function, these are discrete functions. So when we first learned domain, we talked about a discrete function. So we're going to do the same here. So when we did domain, we looked at the x column for this same table. So now when we do range, instead, we're looking at the y column. And I list them the same as I did before. I just need to be aware that this time I'm focusing on the y values. So the range of this guy, and we can do capital R just to make sure that it's clear. Not fancy R for all reals, just capital regular R for range, is 23, 54, 66, 87, and 108. And we put that inside of the fancy brackets, least to greatest. So this should sound vaguely familiar based off of domain. On the graph, we drew tick marks that were matching up to the x-axis. This time we're going to the y-axis. So I have mine highlighted in pink, and we're looking at the y values. So this time our range can only be 3 numbers. So we start at the lowest number, so start at the bottom. That's 0. This is a y of 0. Then we move up by 2. So this is a y of 2. So y can be 0, 2, or this guy is a y of 3. So the only y values that this function can take on is 0, 2, and 3. We start at the bottom and we move up. Okay, then our points on the last page, we highlighted on the domain page, we highlighted the first coordinate. On this one, we will highlight the second coordinate, the y coordinate. So 2, 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate? So this time the range fancy bracket is ordered for us. The lowest y is 2, then 4. So very similar to domain, we're just looking at the y values instead. Well, down here, we do the same thing. But this time, we want to make sure that we're looking at our bottom point and moving to the top. So if I draw a line here between or at my lowest point and my highest point on this graph. So I've drawn a line at my lowest point, this open dot, and the tip of this like triangle. This is the lowest point, this is the highest point. Then your range is the values that it goes from. So the range is what I have highlighted in pink. So this line is a y of -7. Is that what you guys see? Okay. Then this line is a y of 5. So we're looking at the y values. Yes? Yeah. Okay. Okay. I just drew my line a little low. Is that top one 5? Okay. So now we can just use interval notation. We're going from -6 to as high as 5. Can it be -6? No, because that point at -6 is open. Can it be 5? Yes. And the reason that it can be 5 is because you don't see an open point there. If you were to see an open point, then you would do a parenthesis instead. Okay, this guy, I'm going to do the same thing. I like to draw my own line at the lowest point and the highest point. So when a function is continuous, start at the bottom and move up. That's those blanks that were right above these two graphs. So the bottom is a y equals what? 0. We're at 0 on the y-axis. So I'll highlight my y-axis in pink this time. That's your range. Okay, where are we at the top? 4. So your y values can be any number, square brackets, from 0 to 4, because those points are closed. Okay, this is our first one that's different. On the bottom, we have a point. So where is that on the y? Is it 1 or -1? 1. Now notice that on the right-hand side, you have an arrow, which means this time your range looks like this. So even though it looks like that arrow is pointing toward the right, what's going to happen as I move with the graph is that that firework is going to get higher and higher and higher and higher, and there's no limit to how high it can go. So it's going to infinity. So on my bottom, I have a 0 included because that's a closed point. Yep. So sorry. I have a 1. Holy crap, teacher. Because that's a closed point. And on the top, we're going to put an infinity with an open parenthesis. This one you will often see written as y can be any number greater than or equal to 1. When it's one-sided, we like to write the range as an inequality like this one here. The sandwiches we can ignore, but the ones that are going to positive infinity or negative infinity, we're going to want to do inequality, or at least know what it looks like. It's pointing toward the positive, so my symbol is also pointing toward the positive. You're okay? Yes? Okay, this one, I draw a line at the bottom, and then I'm noticing that on both top points, I have arrows, which means I can't draw another line for the top because those arrows are just going to keep going and going and going, which means this is another one where if I highlighted the range, it would look like that. It's an arrow pointing up. So what's our bottommost point? I think it might be -1. And what does this arrow indicate? Infinity. So this guy is closed bracket -1 because you don't see an open point there, comma, infinity, parenthesis. Now, if we were doing inequality, I want you to decide the symbol and the number. See if you can find the inequality by getting the symbol and the number. About 5. Okay, the arrow is pointing toward the positive, so my inequality will point towards the positive number. There's no open point, so it's an equals to, and then you would write -1 as your number. So this can be any number greater than or equal to -1. Now this guy caused us all types of problems on domain. This one's more interesting or even slightly easier as range. This time, your bottom doesn't stop. Yep. What's your top? 3. So if I wanted to use my highlighter to show you the range, it looks like that this time. So you have an arrow pointing down. Okay, so the bottom point is negative infinity. You have to write it from bottom to top. So even though this arrow is pointing down, we still have to start with negative infinity. That's the bottom. And it can go as high as 3, but can it equal 3? No. So this time, if we write this as inequality notation, we write y. It's pointing toward the negative, so point your symbol toward the negative. It cannot equal 3. So this range this time is y can be any number less than 3. Okay, so why don't you guys try 9? I'm not going to have you do it on the whiteboard right now. This is just a practice one, and then we'll do a few whiteboard ones. Hey, ski slope table. Who's squeaking over there? Which one of you guys is the aggressive rider that shakes the table? Sounds like you're done. Are you done? Yeah? I meant that toward everybody. Okay, if you have the interval, do the inequality. Yes? The arrow. They're both pointing towards infinity, though. You're looking at the top and bottom point. For realsies? For reals? Oh, okay. Did you write the inequality? Okay, this is parenthesis -2 to infinity. And your inequality is any number greater than -2. You better put your seat all the way back up, Owen, when you leave. Ain't nobody need to be sitting that low. Okay, let's try some whiteboard ones. Let's focus on interval notation at first. Okay, it looks weird, but remember, you're focusing on your lowest point and your highest point. Why does this keep coming back wet? Naomi, did you go today?
Angel sprayed it with the...
No, you sprayed. I'm just wondering if it's still wet from last Thursday.
No, it wasn't when I had it.
Thank you. Okay, roughly 20. Carlton, you better back that up, bud. Don't be mad at her. She was just trying to help out. Oh my goodness. I wouldn't even have been mad. Okay, about 5. 3, 2. Okay, if you don't know, just hold up a blank one. It's okay. Let's just check it out so we know what's happening. Okay, don't erase so that you can compare it to what I drew. Your lowest point is -1. Your highest point is infinity. This would be a bracket. So it would be square -1 to infinity, or y greater than or equal to -1. Do you see what's happening there? Okay. Remember, go from the bottom to the top. Roughly 10. Five. 3, 2. Okay, show me what you're thinking. Great. Check yours against mine. Oh, this one. About 10. Five. 3, 2. Okay, let's see. All reals. There is no inequality. The inequality is this fancy R. You guys are doing great. Let's try this guy. Remember, highest to lowest. I meant low. Oh, I meant lowest. I mean highest. I mean lowest to highest. You just take it and go. Oh, this one's hard. Uh-oh. This one's got a trick. About 10. Five. 3, 2. Okay, show me what you think, and then don't erase because this guy's trying to trick us. So this is negative infinity to 4, except for y is 0. Remember that guy? He messes it up for us. That guy's a weird one. Okay, 2 more. You won't get one like that on your quiz because that guy's weird. Okay, this guy. We have one more after this.
Are there arrows?
No. If there are arrows, it is obvious there are arrows. If it's an open point, you will see an open point. Roughly 10. About 5. 3, 2. Okay, let's see. This is -1 to 1 included. Okay, last one. Top 10. Five, 3, 2. Okay, show me. If you're doing the inequality too, great work. Any number greater than or equal to 0. So this is where we'll pick up from next time. You still have about 5 minutes, so if you didn't finish that 0.3, get it done.